Welcome to the 4 Doors from Happy Camper Games. Right here you see a setup for a 3-player game. We've got a deck of player cards that we've shuffled together. Each player at the table will randomly draw an adventurer to play for this game. And each of those adventurers has a special ability at the bottom of their card they're going to be able to use throughout the game, as well as a door space that their pawn is going to start on. So our green wanderer pawn starts on the green door in accordance with that card. And we've got 4 relics flipped into their inactive hidden sides right now that we're going to need to go into these 4 doors to find. The 4 doors themselves we've lined up in a random vertical order on the table. At the top of those 4 doors is the beacon that if we can light, we win the game, but we can only do that once we've found the 4 relics. We're going to set our shadows card down here at the bottom of the doors, leaving a space open for the hollow. Next up, we're going to set some initial shadows cards for the game by drawing the top 9 cards of the deck. And for each of those cards, looking at that bar on the bottom, that bar is going to indicate where that shadow card needs to get placed. So we have a green card here, meaning it'll go next to our green door. And the left side of each of those door cards is a dark brick pattern work. On the right side is a lighter column. This card matches up with the dark side there, meaning it's going to go on the left. This is our initial setup of shadows cards. While these cards are being used for their shadow card purposes, they have no other effect on the game, but they can be removed from these doors. In fact, they'll need to be if we want to win. The last thing we're going to do for setup is deal an opening hand to each player, and in a 3-player game, that opening hand is 3 cards, which we're all going to keep face up in front of ourselves so that all the other players at the table can see what we have access to. Now we're ready to get started. The first part of a player's turn is to take up to 3 actions. There are some generic actions you can always take, but there will also be cards, whether they're your adventurer card, relic cards, or anything else, that will tell you you can use an action to have a special effect. For now, let's take a look at those generic actions. The first thing you can do is to move to one adjacent door, and adjacent means either directly above or below than the door you're on right now. So our green player could move off of that green door to the purple door for 1 action. Next up, you can illuminate. To do that, you're going to discard a card from your hand with a lantern symbol in its corner that matches the door you're currently standing on. So green is standing on the purple door, and this is the icon and color for the purple door. So even though the rest of this card is dedicated to the yellow relic, that purple lantern is what matters for illuminating. We're going to discard this card. When we do that, we get to discard one of the shadow cards currently at our door. So I could discard this card here, driving back those shadows for the moment. Next up, you can use an action to give 1 card from your hand to another player who's at your current door. So red and orange currently could be giving cards to each other at the cost of 1 action per card. And lastly, you can find a relic in the door you're currently standing on. But to do that, you need to discard 4 matching relic cards from your hand, all of the same relic type as that door that you're currently standing on. So this normally isn't something you'll pull off on turn 1. It's going to take some trading cards between players and some other setup. But at some point, our green player could discard 4 of these matching cards from hand to discover the Prism of Clarity in that purple door that they're currently standing on. Hey folks, sorry to interrupt. This is just a 15-second reminder that we're a small team of board game lovers running an actual board game shop here in Wisconsin. If you like what we do, you can support us directly by shopping with us online or by stopping in the next time you're in our area. Thank you. All right, back to your video. And when you find a relic, you get to flip it to its active side, which gives it a permanent special ability you'll have access to for the rest of the game. The player who found the relic will put this into their hand and is the player who can use that ability, but they can use an action to give it to another player. Now, once you've done up to 3 actions for the turn, you'll move on to the next part of your turn, which is to draw 2 cards off of the deck. These will go straight into your hand. Keep in mind the hand limit in this game is 5 cards, so if these cards put you up over 5, then you'll have to discard down to 5. And as you see here, some of the cards you find in the game aren't going to be relic cards, they'll be spells like this. Spells resemble other cards in the game. They still have a shadow area, they still have a lantern that can be used to illuminate shadows off of doors, but rather than being able to be used to find relics, they have powerful abilities you can use that don't even cost you an action. For instance, the teleport spell here says you can toss this card into the hollow to move any 1 pawn anywhere. And this is the first interaction we've seen with the hollow. The hollow is an extra area down here at the bottom of our play area where cards will go to be permanently removed from the game, meaning they won't be shuffled back into the deck when the deck runs out. Each spell's main ability requires that it be thrown into the hollow in order to use that ability, so choosing when the right time to use those spells are, rather than just discard them for their normal lantern effect, is an important factor in the game. And for some extra intrigue, that Luminous Flux spell we just saw has 2 abilities. One very powerful ability that lets you toss it into the hollow to remove a shadow card from any door, no matter where your adventurer currently is. But this is also the only card in the game that can light the beacon and win the game for us. So we want to make sure we have one of these luminous fluxes around when we're trying to finish the game out. Once again, making it important to decide how many of these you want to be tossing into the hollow and when. And since spells can be used anytime, even on another player's turn, anytime you've drawn cards such that you have more than 5 in your hand and you'll need to discard, instead of discarding a spell, you can use its ability right then and there. So sometimes it is worth it to toss this into the hollow if it means you don't have to do any discards. Once you've drawn your 2 cards for the turn, we reach the final part of your turn, which is when shadows fall. For this, we're going to refer to our Shadows card here. This card sets our difficulty level for the game. It also tells you how many shadow cards you're going to need to add during this part of your turn. We've started on Standard, which means we need 2 Shadows cards. So for each of those 2 cards, I'm going to flip the top card of the deck and add it to its appropriate shadow area next to its matching door. And this is what we're racing against in the game, because if, when shadows fall on any player's turn, they draw a shadow card that would become the 4th card to the left or the right of a door, the shadows are then able to start closing that door on us. So this 4th yellow off to its right would mean that instead of placing it, we're going to flip our door to the partially closed side and then send that shadow card to the hollow. Now's the time to address these cards and make sure we don't hit another door closed, because if the same happens to a door that's already partially closed, that door is instead removed from the game, and if we haven't managed to find the yellow relic yet, that also means we lose the game immediately. Removing a door means you're going to remove it from the game and place all of the shadow cards that were next to it into the hollow. The board compresses to fill that space. Any future shadow cards we would add to the yellow door in this case would instead just get added to the hollow. As you're making your way through the deck, drawing cards for yourselves but also shadow cards, eventually the deck is going to run out. And whenever you would need to draw cards from an empty deck, you'll shuffle the discard back to form a new deck. But each time this happens, our shadow counter moves forward on its path. We are now in the area of the shadows. That means we need to be drawing 3 shadow cards at the end of each player's turn for the rest of the game, and things are only going to get worse from there. There's only one way to win this game, and that's for all the players to meet each other at the same time at the beacon at the top of the tower. We need to have collected all 4 relics among us, and somebody needs to cast a luminous flux spell to activate those relics and light the tower so that we can drive back the shadows. But there's 3 ways to lose. The first, as we discussed, is if a door gets removed from the game before we've found its relic. Now we'll never be able to light the beacon, we've lost the game. Next is if you ever need to draw a card out of the deck, but both the deck and the discard pile are empty. That's a loss as well. And finally is if we ever delay so long that our shadow counter is able to reach the skull at the end of its track. So there's a lot working against us, but if we're able to coordinate, find those relics, and get them to that beacon to light it, we'll be able to win the game together.